Today we're getting into the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news, including Tesla asking to put 5,000 robotaxis on the road in a new state, SpaceX about to be worth more than Tesla, Tesla already updating the cheapest Model Y, the latest from WWDC, and more. So let's get into it, and a special thanks to Recurrent for sponsoring this video. First up today, Tesla's Robotaxi rollout is moving along, and some would say it's slow and others would say it's quite fast. But the Cybercab keeps inching closer to actually carrying the public. Tesla just filed for a permit to run an autonomous ride-hailing network in Nevada. They're asking to operate up to 5,000 robotaxis in the first year, covering Clark County, which includes Las Vegas and the Harry Reid Airport. 5,000 is a big number when you consider Tesla's actual driverless fleet right now is only around 20 cars. So this is Tesla planning years ahead, not something we're expecting to be happening next month. The application just went public, and there is a window for public protests through early July before anything moves forward. Right now, Tesla already runs its robotaxi service in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, but those are all Model Ys. A Cybercab actually carrying riders with no steering wheel or pedals would be the next big milestone here. Las Vegas is also one of the cities Tesla named for its robotaxi rollout, and they're already building a dedicated Cybercab cleaning and service facility there. We do expect that at scale, this will be a combination of different vehicles from Tesla. The Cybercab is the dedicated vehicle, but sometimes people will need a larger vehicle, or they're going to want to travel with 3 or 4 people. I do think that Las Vegas is a great place to launch because there are already a lot of different robotaxi networks there. When I stay at certain hotels like around the New York area, there are Zoox vehicles all over the place, and you can actually take them for free. At least they were free the last time I was there. So it would be a great place for Tesla to launch because there are a lot of companies testing robotaxis there, and they basically fit right in. The Cybercabs themselves, though, keep showing up in more places. We've now seen them testing around Atlanta, down in the Miami area, and around 40 of them are parked at Tesla's Robotaxi hub in Dallas. I still think that Tesla could have Cybercabs running on their own Robotaxi network by the end of this year, but actually delivering one to a customer for under $30,000 in 2026, that's the part that I wouldn't bet on. It seems like we're probably going to see some progress here, and they're producing them in large numbers and shipping them out to get them ready to deploy on the network, but it seems like it's going to stay internal for quite some time here. In any case, if this is the kind of tech and Tesla news you like staying on top of, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so that these videos show up for you when they go live. Next up today, SpaceX is gearing up for its IPO, and it could end up worth more than Tesla. SpaceX officially set the price for its IPO at $135 a share, which would value the company at around $1.77 trillion. For reference, that is higher than Tesla's current value of roughly $1.6 trillion, and it would make SpaceX one of the most valuable companies in the entire country, right out of the gate. They are selling around 555 million shares to raise roughly $75 billion, which would make this the largest IPO in history. Shares are set to start trading on the NASDAQ on June 12th. There is already plenty of demand as well. The IPO is oversubscribed, which means investors have put in orders for more shares that are actually already available. A lot of people who follow Tesla closely are watching this one, since so many of them invest in both companies or want to invest in both companies. And for the first time, regular investors can actually get a piece of this through brokerages like Fidelity, with a minimum of around $2,000. So it's not only big institutions getting in. SpaceX also just signed a massive deal with Google. Google is going to pay SpaceX about $920 million a month for computing power, basically renting access to a huge bank of 110,000 NVIDIA AI chips. That works out to more than $11 billion a year from one single customer, and this deal runs through 2029. Now, this is the same kind of deal SpaceX recently made with Anthropic, the company behind Claude. So on top of rockets and Starlink, they're now renting out AI computing power at a huge scale. And Starlink keeps growing as well. It just passed 12 million subscribers, up more than 2 million in about 4 months. Now, I just made a whole video about how Tesla and SpaceX could be merging in the future, and if you want to check that out, it's linked up here or in the description below. But there is already a direct Tesla connection in SpaceX's filings. Elon's AI company, xAI, bought $269 million worth of Tesla Megapack batteries in April alone, which is more than xAI spent on Megapacks in all of 2024. Those big batteries help to smooth out the huge power swings that AI data centers create, and this brings xAI's total megapack spending to around $1 billion. So Tesla batteries are helping power the same AI computing that SpaceX is renting out, which is a good look at how connected all of Elon's companies are and how they could get even more connected in the future. Tesla makes the battery, xAI builds the data centers, and SpaceX is able to bring that all together in the future by involving Starlink and whatever the future brings for space-based data centers. Next up today, over at Tesla, the most affordable Model Y just got much better. The base Model Y in the US and Canada, which starts at $39,990, now comes standard with the larger 16-inch screen and the all-black headliner. Those used to be reserved for the higher trims, so Tesla is definitely handing the cheapest Model Y a free upgrade without raising its price. And this actually comes after they just raised the price of the premium car. I think this is a great upgrade to see, and it really shows how Tesla's philosophy works. At the end of the day, it's just a lot easier for them to standardize things. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive for the 16-inch screen to make it into the cheaper model, but at the end of the day, they can just have one screen across all Model Y trims now. So in practice, at scale, it actually might end up cheaper and just easier logistically. Over in Europe, Tesla also added a brand new paint color for the base Model Y called Coastal Blue. It's a darker, richer take on their Frost Blue, and it runs about 1,300 euros or about $1,500. For now, though, it's a Europe-only option. Tesla is also expanding the Model 3 lineup in Canada with a new premium all-wheel drive version, and this one is built at Giga Shanghai in China rather than imported from the US. It starts at about 50,000 Canadian dollars, which is around 36,000 US dollars, with deliveries coming later this year. Sourcing from Shanghai is how Tesla keeps the price down, since cars shipped up from the US get hit with tariffs, and it's the same move that got the cheaper rear-wheel drive Model 3 into Canada recently. At the same time, Tesla is pulling back on a few of its US incentives. The year of free supercharging for Model 3 premium orders ends June 15th. The Model 3 lease price recently went up by $30 a month, and the financing rate on the Model Y all-wheel drive went from 0% up to about 1%. So I guess if you were planning on buying this car, you could think of that as kind of the way that you pay for that upgraded screen and the change to a black headliner. I am very curious to see how the black headliner works in that base Model Y, because that's the one with the closed roof. So it has the headliner completely covering above you, and now instead of it being light, it's going to be black. It seems like the interior of that car will be quite dark, especially if you get the black interior, but I'll just have to see what it's like in person. Now, none of these are huge changes on their own, but pulling deals back like that usually means demand has been coming back. We saw a price increase, we see deals changing. It seems like sales are going pretty well for Tesla, even in the United States. Look, we all know that used EVs take a depreciation hit. Buyers assume the worst about the battery health, and that assumption costs you thousands when you sell. Well, that's where today's sponsor, Recurrent, comes in. It's a free platform built by PhD battery scientists who have spent their careers studying how EV batteries actually age. You connect your Tesla once, takes about 90 seconds, and Recurrent analyzes your range and battery performance daily. No tedious battery checks and no phantom drain. Recurrent checks the car as it's charging. When it's time to sell, you've got months or years of real data proving your battery is healthy. And this adds up. An independent auction company found that cars with Recurrent reports sold for $1,400 more on average. That's real money for 90 seconds of setup. Over 35,000 Tesla and EV owners in the US are already using it, totally free and no data is sold ever. So head to recurrentauto.com, authenticate your Tesla, and let the battery nerds do the rest. Future you will thank you for the money you're saving. Next up today, over at Tesla, a string of recent app updates shows them turning the Tesla app into a whole home energy hub, and some of these features are very cool. Now, they've been in this space for a while, but they keep updating stuff, as we always see from Tesla. The biggest one here is new smart charging for the wall connector. There's a new low-cost charging mode that will automatically charge your car when your local electricity rates are at their lowest, based on your utility plan, so you save money without even thinking about it. You could already do this with scheduled charging, but you had to know about this, and here it will do it automatically, and if anything changes, seemingly it will update automatically. They are also adding a mode called Enhanced Charge on Solar, which combines that feature with their existing solar charging. So your car can charge specifically when you have extra solar power coming in, and when your rates are at their cheapest, so you get the best of both worlds. On top of that, a new update is laying the groundwork for Tesla to actually control your home's heat pump. The idea is that when you have clean energy to spare, your Powerwall will tell your heat pump to use that surplus electricity, preheating or pre-cooling your house a little past its normal limits. And then it sets everything back to normal once the surplus is gone. So your home heating and cooling, your solar, your Powerwall, and your car charging all start working together automatically to use clean power when it's the cheapest and most abundant. It's a very smart use of all of this hardware under one roof and one app. Tesla is also rebranding this whole part of the app from My Home to Tesla Home and reorganizing it into cleaner categories, which makes sense as they pile more of these features into one place. Then a smaller one that's very easy to miss, there is a new trailer light test feature coming, so you can stand behind your trailer and remotely run through the brake lights, turn signals, and running lights right from the app to make sure everything works before you tow. Now on their surface, none of these features are too flashy, but it's the kind of thing that makes the whole Tesla ecosystem really work. The more of your home that runs through this one app, the harder it is to ever leave it, and it's impressive that a car company is becoming so serious with home energy. Next up today, the next generation Tesla Roadster just got delayed again. It's the supercar that Tesla first showed off back in 2017, promising a 0 to 60 of around 1.9 seconds at the time, and eventually they told us about a 1.1 second 0 to 60 and SpaceX-style cold gas thrusters. It has been pushed back many times since then. A new report says the big public revealing is now moved to August, or possibly later, and the holdup is that SpaceX thruster system, internally codenamed A71, which is the part Tesla really wants to show off here. That cold gas thruster pushes air out through nozzles to boost performance, and getting it both safe and road legal is apparently taking longer than expected. The reveal is expected to happen in Texas, which is also where Tesla builds the Cybertruck and the Cybercab, so it would become a hometown event for that car. Tesla's chief designer Franz von Holzhausen recently teased that we might see the Roadster in a matter of weeks, while this new report points to August. So even Tesla seems split on the timing, but either way, this is now the 8th time the timeline has shifted, so I would take any Roadster date with a grain of salt until they actually put it on a stage, and then maybe till they actually ship one. When you think about it, about 10 years ago, there was one of these Roadsters on the stage, so they could show us one on the stage, but not actually have a production plan or not produce it for another 10 years. Next up today, over at BMW, they just set a new range record. Their new electric SUV, the iX3, drove 485 miles on a single charge in a big summer range test over in Norway, making it the longest range EV in that test. That puts it ahead of the Model Y on range, which is the car the iX3 is really going up against. The iX3 is BMW's new electric SUV built on a brand new platform made just for EVs, so BMW is clearly taking this more seriously. Then over in China, the EV maker Xpeng said it is now spending around $500 million a year on AI training, specifically to try and beat Tesla's full self-driving. Tesla trains its system on video end-to-end, while Xpeng is taking a different approach that also brings in language to help the car reason about what it's seeing. So Tesla's lead here is not a given, with a company like Xpeng over in China pouring $500 million a year into catching up. It seems like we're going to see a lot more of that, but Tesla still, when you look at the product that they deliver today, really has the lead on the latest cars in certain markets like the United States. As a real quick aside, I want to mention my other YouTube channel called Sessions with Shaw. It's my jazz channel where we do live performances with a live band in this studio. We've done a bunch of episodes so far, and we have some new ones coming up, so I hope that you'll check it out if you're into jazz music specifically. It's linked in the description below. Next up today, over at Apple, their big developer conference, WWDC, just wrapped up, and the headline this year is a completely rebuilt Siri. This was also Tim Cook's final keynote as the CEO of Apple before he steps back into an executive chairman role later this year, so it was a pretty big moment for the company and for him. The centerpiece of this whole event is a brand new Siri, and the most surprising part to a lot of people is what's actually powering it. Apple's own AI models weren't good enough, so the new Siri runs on a custom Google Gemini model. That model is reportedly around 1.2 trillion parameters, and Apple is said to be paying Google roughly $1 billion a year for it. So Apple is basically paying one of its biggest rivals to run the brains of their new assistant. It works on a 3-tier system though. The simple stuff stays right on your device using Apple's own models, medium tasks go to Apple's private cloud servers, and the heaviest requests get routed out to Google's cloud running on NVIDIA's newest AI chips. The new Siri is now its own standalone app on the iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and it pops up right in the dynamic island with a search or ask prompt whenever you need it. It can finally handle multi-step commands as well, so it keeps a full conversational history that syncs across all of your devices, and you can attach images and documents right into it like a real chatbot. It's also contextually aware. It can see what is on your screen, it learns about you over time, it can compose emails for you in your style, and it can even read the nutrition info off of a food label using your camera. Then there's a new system called Extensions, where you can plug in another AI like Claude or ChatGPT and have Siri hand questions off to it, or even set one of these as your default assistant instead. They also gave Siri a more natural-sounding voice and beefed up the visual intelligence side of things, so it can identify and act on things it sees through the camera, not just answer typed-in questions. Now beyond Siri, iOS 27 is what Apple is calling a deep clean release. It is all about stability, fewer bugs, and better battery life, kind of like the old Snow Leopard update Mac people loved. Here's a quick rundown of what is faster. App launches are about 30% faster. Your photos load up 70% faster in your library. AirDrop transfers are about 80% faster. And transferring files to external storage is up to 5 times faster. On the design side, the liquid glass look gets refined, including a new slider that lets you control how transparent or how solid you want everything to be. Plus, there's a new layered, almost 3D effect on your app icons. There are also revamped parental controls that make it much easier to set up a kid's account and manage exactly what they can get into. And Apple is being really careful here and talking about studies and working with official organizations to ensure that these features really align with the latest research of what's best for children. Then over on the Mac, the next version is macOS Golden Gate, carrying a lot of those same visual refinements. As for timing with these features, the developer beta is out now, a public beta should land in July, and the full release comes in September alongside the new iPhones. Apple is also dropping support for the iPhone 11 lineup and the second generation SE. Now, if you're getting a real sense of deja vu with a lot of these features, it's because Apple showed off essentially these exact same Siri features 2 whole years ago at WWDC 2024. Back then, it was the big personalized Siri that could see your screen and tap into your personal data, and it was supposed to ship with iOS 18, but the technology was not actually ready. Apple very quietly delayed this, and it pretty much disappeared for 2 years. So now it's finally happening, but only with a lot of help from Google's Gemini, after Apple's own AI just could not get there on its own. For a company that prides itself on building everything in-house, leaning on a direct competitor to power its most important assistant is a really big deal, and it shows just how far behind Apple fell in this AI race. With that said, they are combining a lot of this with a lot of private cloud compute and privacy focus, so I think a lot of people will be happy to see that. These features do look great, and I am excited to try them, but it's hard to ignore that we were basically promised all of this and shown this back 2 years ago. So hopefully it finally really arrives this time, and we'll see once people start trying out the beta. Last up today, some quick mentions. One of Tesla's longtime executives is officially leaving the company after more than 13 years. He ran Tesla's IT and AI infrastructure and even led North America's sales for a stretch, and he's headed off to become the chief technology officer at a cloud company. Tesla's full self-driving cleared another step in Europe, finishing the required 5,000 kilometers of testing in Belgium, with the approval now under review. Ferrari's CEO flatly ruled out ever building a fully self-driving car, saying they want a steering wheel and a person behind it because that is the whole point of buying a Ferrari. To me, this take actually makes a lot of sense for a company like Ferrari. Waymo is giving its retired Robotaxi batteries a second life, turning them into backup power systems instead of scrapping them. And then at Tesla, they added a fresh batch of Cybertrucks to their inventory pages, with some listed as low as around $72,000 for anyone who doesn't want to wait on a new order. Lastly, at SpaceX, they're preparing for their next Starship flight, rolling the booster out for test number 13, only about 2 weeks after the last one. That's all the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see that video fully breaking down how Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI could all be merging in the future, you can check that out linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.